How's it going, guys? So, picking up where we left off, before we do that, there's a couple of links that you might want to find, and it's kind of, if you don't email me, I'll put my email in the Python project here in a second. But if you don't email me, you can go to GitHub and then search Zach F. Pearson. Click that repository, and then kind of back out, go to repositories, and then the live one that I'm using for this tutorial, and then the YouTube channel's here. So once you click the YouTube channel, it'll say that I'm live now. So if I go into that, then you're going to be able to hear a double video, but you're going to want these two links, and I'm going to get out of here fast. Yeah. Cool. So yeah, you're going to want those two links, and that'll lead you to these two that we're going to use for Python here in a little bit. You're also going to want to go to OpenCV.org and then hit releases, and then you could start downloading this, but we won't get to it for probably a couple more minutes, so you don't have to do it right now if you don't want to. So going back to the calculator project in Python that we had going, and it was kind of acting weird. It's because I kind of blanked out last week. So we can do while, and we can just set it to true. Yeah, that's not good. It's not usually good practice, but when you're doing something like this, it's just fine. And also with videos, as we'll probably see later in this. And then sys.exit should be what we need. See, did we import sys? Okay, yeah, so if you don't have import sys there, you'll need it. So everything else here is the same. Just now when we hit exit, it will, now when we hit 5, it'll just exit the system. So we'll see what that does here. So if we go to D and then CD, document, CD, CPP, CD, live problem solving, well, that's for me, but if you go to whatever directory that this is in, so mine's in part 2, and then I run Python calculator, yeah, that's how I spell it, calculator.py, yeah, didn't look right, later.py, hit it, and then so we want to get them slope, so we'll do slope, and then we'll do 4, and I will do 8, 1, and then if we hit 5, it'll escape. So all we need to do is to put sys.exit in the else, so the elif, well, the if, elif, else, and then within here there's other elifs just because. Yeah, so that'll finish our calculator part. And if we go up here, we were working on the address book, so we printed this out, and yeah, and then we were started to kind of put in the skeleton for what our menu will look like and everything like that, just off of our calculator. So let's start to put that in. So we will go and we'll make book equal that, and then for the first one, if we want to add a person, we're not going to want to do that. What we're going to want to do is we're going to want to do name equals input, and then just say name space email equals email, input email, and then, well, to keep everything in the order that we have it defined. Doesn't need to be, but why not? Equals input number, and there we go. And then it's not input, it's input. All right, so then we have the 3 things that we're going to want to put into our class. So then we could just do book.append, and then person, and name, number, and email. Perfect. And then when we did the earlier, a couple of videos ago, we had but we had something, and then we set it equal to choice, and then we set choice equal to something here, and that kind of messed it up. But if you're not setting anything equal to it and you're calling a function like .append of that variable, then it won't redefine it. So as long as you're using like a dot something, it won't redefine it, so we'll be fine. Yeah, so that will just keep appending every time somebody adds something. It will just keep appending the name and the number and the email. All right, so then we're gonna go and we're gonna want to show all of them. So for item, contact in book, we're gonna do print, and then in brackets, boom, 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 which basically just sets everything up for contact. These are just variables, placeholders. So we're gonna need 3 variables. So contact get name. Did I really capitalize them for this? Let's see. Yep. All right. Cool. Because I think I did not for the C++ one. Contact get number. Contact get email. Cool, and we'll probably need those since it's a function. Alright, and then that will just loop through them all and print them out, so that one's done. And then we're going to just could run into issues by copying and pasting, but you know, why not? We'll just do it. So then for the next one, it's basically the same thing, but we want to input a name, so we'll do name again, and these names are in separate. So this is in this if statement, this is in this else if statement, so they won't overlap. So name equals input name. That's how we'll find the person, and then if contact get name, and this shouldn't really matter where you put it, which one first or the other one, and then you'll just do. Alright, cool. So then save that, and then the else here, we're gonna do sys.exit. Alright, and we need to import sys because we did not in this one, so yeah, Adam, there you go. That's how you can make everything more readable. Import sys. Alright, and then this should be good for our address. So no, we're gonna want to not run that one, but we're gonna want to run address book. We'll add one, Zach. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then Zach@gmail.com. Oh, okay. Number is not defined. Alright, well, let's figure that out. Number. Capitalized it. Tisk. Alright, cool. Alright, and then we go back to it. Add Zach. 555. 555. Zach@gmail.com, and then we do show all, and then we'll do get by name, and then it says it again. If we want to add another, eliz 555 435 4321, and then email@gmail.com. Beautiful. Show all, and then 3, and we'll just do Zach again. Capitalize Zach. 3 Zach. Alright. Because it's case sensitive, and then we hit 5. Boom. Just like the C++ one. Alright, so then now we're gonna go into saving everything. So it's nice that we are able to go through all this, but then every time we exit the application, all of our data isn't useful anymore. We have to re-enter all the data that we use. So what's going to be nice is we're going to be able to save the data, and call it back when we start the application, so that we can just kind of keep adding to the list instead of having to recreate everything every time we open it, which is really useful for a lot of reasons. And then so this application, it's useful so that you don't have to keep inputting names, but if you're working with data, you can save all the data to a hard drive and then do operations on it after you collect it, or even while you're collecting it. But yeah, so we'll get working on that. So the way we're going to be saving them is through CSV, and CSV means comma separated variable. And the CSV formats are a lot like Excel, and Excel will read CSV, and Google Sheets works really well with CSV formats. So it's very good for data, and it's nice for programming languages that you'll also be able to read and write very easily and start working with the data. So we'll do read underscore CSV, and in this one we're going to want to take in a file name. All right, and then bang, and then we're going to do with. It's kind of a strange thing to write, but with open file name as CSV file. And then we're going to do, it's an arbitrary variable, but it's always right, CSV.dict for dictionary reader, CSV file. Yeah. So then we're gonna for row in reader, we're gonna create a contact list, and we're gonna say contact list dot append person row name for name, and then row number for number, and then row email for email. And we haven't saved anything yet, so it's kind of hard to visualize it, but once we start to writing it as well, you'll be able to see what's going on. So and then I'm also going to include field names. Field names equal field names. And I'll define field name to be name, number, and email. Now these things are kind of hard to memorize, so we'll go here and we'll go, this is how you know, so Python CSV writer docs documentation, and I've been here before, so you go here, and then we are on, so here we go. So we don't really need the dictionaries I get for this, but we're going to need the field names for the writer, as we'll see here in a second. So, but yeah, so if you ever need to see anything about the CSV documentation, you can look it up there. So that's useful. So yeah, we don't need this. Just be able to get those from the header. So when we write it. So okay, so then if we go to, then we'll create a new function called write CSV, and then we'll do file name, and we're going to need a list, so book, and that's what we're going to be writing to it. So we're going to do contact, nope, we're going to do with open file name W as CSV file. It's kind of standard. And then so reader, we'll call it writer. But like I said before that, we're going to need the field names. Field names equals name, number, and email. All right, and then writer equals CSV dot dictwrite writer CSV file field names equals field names. All right, and then we're going to do writer dot write header. So that just writes, these will be at the top of this will be the first row, so it's kind of, when you're looking at, if you want to read the CSV, you'll be able to know that this row will be name, this column will be number, and this column will be email. Again, it'll make more sense as we go. So then we'll do for book, so for contact in book, we'll write, so writer dot write row, and then we'll do contact dot get name, contact dot get number, and contact dot get email. And so then what we're going to do here is it's going to get a contact in book that we pass it, similar to all the things we've been passing before. And then because we have name here, we want the first column of this row to be name, and then we want the second cell of this row to be number, and the third cell to be email, because we set that up here, name, number, and email. So this should write it for us. We'll check our documentation before we proceed. So the writer is capital, and then header is not. So I will go back here, and then we just have to make this a capital W, and then this a capital reader. That should be pretty good. And then we're going to also want to import one more thing, OS, that we'll use just in a second. So we'll go back down to main, and we'll call file name, and we'll call it address book dot CSV. One of those is wrong, I think. Probably wrong. And then we go if os dot path dot exists, and then you pass in file name. Then we want book to equal read CSV and file name. So basically, if the file exists, do that, else book is going to be blank, and then we're going to save to it later. So then that's all we need to add here, and then when we go down to the bottom, we're just going to write it. So write CSV and file name and book. So the first one is going to return, this is what we need to do. We need to return this. So we need to return this. Return contact list. Beautiful. Oops, no. Alright, so then we return that. So this read CSV is going to parse through the CSV file that we're going to create, as we'll see in a second. It's probably a little difficult to visualize this, but try to think of an Excel sheet. And then we're going to keep appending to that and then return that, and then that is now going to be our new book element that we have. So I'll go down here, so that'll be our new book here. Well, actually here. And then if this file doesn't exist, it's going to go to, just declare it empty. and then when we finish, so within here we're also adding to book, as we know, within our code. So then book may be larger than what it first was, and then we'll write book to whatever the file name is. We don't have to check if it exists because we're writing it, so if it exists or not, it doesn't really matter. And then we're going to write a CSV file that we'll see in a second. So yeah, that's the only really thing that we need to know. And then the other thing about this statement here, which is nice, is that we don't have to call close. So when this is called, it opens it, and then after it leaves it. So think of it similar to C++, where we have the brackets around this, and then this would be the last bracket, but because Python doesn't have brackets, it's just spacing. This might be a little easier to visualize, but anytime it comes out of this for dents, if you went to start to write here, like as if we write return there, I'll even do an enter, then it closes the file after that. So the file is then closed, which is nice, and that's one of the best benefits with Open. You don't have to call close after that. So that's really good, because as we'll see when we write this in C++, we'll have to close the file. Yeah, so actually we don't actually need all of OS. I think we just need path, so we'll call path here. And then we'll see if this works. I have a feeling that there might be a syntax error probably somewhere in here, but yeah, we'll find that out right now. Okay, so we'll start it up. Same thing as before, and then we'll add a person, Zach, number 555-123. 4321, and then we'll call an email at gmail.com. There we go, and then we'll just call 5 error. So right row takes 2 positional arguments before we're given. Let's see. So we'll go back to our documentation really quick. Oh, okay. So that's what it is. So we'll do. We'll go back down here, and we'll write the row, and then we need to name, and then that'll be the name, comma, name, and then this is number, so I guess we have to specify, and which we'll see we do not have to do in email. In C++, but C++ has its own catches with CSV files, as we'll soon see. All right, so then we should be able to go there. Let's just double check. Yep. All right, so let's try it again. So there'll be, address book was created. It just doesn't have any content in there because it crashed because we weren't writing to it correctly, but it wrote header before it quit. All right, so then let's call it Python. And we'll add somebody to that, Zach, 555-123-4321, email at gmail.com, and then we'll press 5 again. All right, so then we'll run this one more time, and we'll do show all and Zach. So that way it's saved, and then why not, we'll create somebody else, we'll do 1, and then we'll do Liz again, and then we'll do 555-433. 4321. Nope, we don't want to do that. And then we'll just do eliz at gmail.com. Then we hit 5, and then we go up, and then we do show all, and then we go Eliz and Zach. So that's super cool. And then you can just keep adding to it, which is really nice. And that way, it's kind of saved on your computer forever, and then when you want to just see the context, you would just be able to pull it up. Very similar to how things are stored in your phone, which is nice. And you could also then store it as CSV on like a server or something, and you'd be able to fetch this data and return it from a remote location. So that's pretty darn cool. And then we'll, before we go to OpenCV, which is working with images, we're going to go to where we left off on our C++ application. All right, cool. So once you get to wherever your C++ application was for our address book, we're going to want to work to save these things as CSVs as well, since we're trying to keep these both as similar as possible so we can notice the differences between the two. So the first one we're going to need is fstream. And fstream it's just a file stream. F is short for file. And you get to read and write from files. So it's a lot easier, as we'll see kind of in C++, but it's kind of difficult to parse the input that you get back. You'll understand what I mean when we get to it. Then we're also going to need to include SStream, so SStream. So, and this is a string stream, and we'll see why we need that. It makes it a lot easier to parse through the data that we get. So right now, this is what we have. We have the int main in our person class. So now we're going to need a this one's going to be a vector, so vector of person, because that's what the read CSV is returning. It's also what it's returning on it, well, an array, which is, or vectors are just souped up arrays. So it's just returning a person array. So we're going to need a vector person, not my last name, person. All right, vector person, and then we're going to call read CSV all in caps, and then we're just going to need the string file name will be all we need for this, and then we'll open that up. And then the other one we're going to need is a I think it's a void. So void write CSV, and then so we'll take in a file name and a vector person, and we'll call that save book or something like that. Save book. All right, so that so then this is going to be a string. Perfect. Then we'll start to fill them out. So we'll try to understand CSVs a little more. So we'll go back here. This is what it looks like. So in Excel, think of everything that is separated by a column. Think of it, the ones separated by commas as cells. So the name would be its own cell, would be in A1, and then the number would be in, I forget, I think it's A2. I'm not sure if the numbers go down or the letters go down, but I think it would be A2, and this one would be A3, and then this would be B1, B2, B3, and then that is, think of those as cells. So this would be the name column, this would be the number column, this would be the email column, and we could pull it up in Excel if we really wanted. I guess that might help you guys. So I'll go here and just travel to wherever you guys have this Python file located. So mine's in live part 2, and then you can even see it's in Excel. It doesn't look exactly like it. There you go. So there's also breaks in between. That's because it's comma separated and not dot. I forget what the file format is for Excel. XL or something. I don't know. .xl. I don't know. Doesn't matter. It's not worth it. You could just make your own Python program to loop through all the data that you need. And as we'll see later in the series, we'll learn how to make graphs with it and whatnot. So, yeah. So that's basically what it is, and it makes things very easy to work with. And it being separated by commas makes it easy to parse through. So we're going to go back to our C++ application. So we're going to need to open the file first. So this is going to be a IF stream. IF stream, because we're inputting into the system. IF stream, and then we'll call it file, and then we'll call file name. And then this opens the file for reading. And then we're going to need a temporary string that we'll see why that's important in a little bit, but we'll call it line. So we're really just going to get every line of it, and then we're going to parse that. And then we're going to need an array of strings, and I'll call it input, because we need data as something else. We're going to do input, and the array of strings are going to be our name, number, and we only need 3 because it's going to be name, number, and email. and then we're going to do a vector of person, a vector person, and then we're going to call this a data, and that's going to be what we return. Yeah, that should be it. So we're going to, the nice thing called getLine, which will get the line of file and name. Oh geez, my family is all excited. So then we're going to do file and then line. So what this is going to do is it's going to get the first line of file, and it's going to store it in line. But as we can see here, the first line of file is name, number, email. So what we're really going to have to do is go through, we're going to have to kind of just call that once. We're going to need to call that once so that we get rid of that header line, and then we're going to do while getLine file line. So what this is going to do is it's going to, then after that header, it's going to keep going, and then when getLine doesn't return anything anymore, it's basically like a false. So this will keep going until there's something to read within the file, which is nice. It's nice and clean syntax and makes everything easy, so this getLine is great. And again, for the reason for this getLine at line 28 is so that we don't read in that header file. We don't want that to be data, because when we spit back out data, then it would be a name, number, and email would be somebody in your contact list, and that's not what we want. I mean, you could delete it if you want, and you'll see what you'll get and why we definitely don't want that there. But we're not going to do that. So then we're going to call an stream file, and we're going to call it just s, and then we're going to have it read line. So error is undefined. That is a type. So let's see. Is it iStream? IStream? No, we'll call it iStream. Alright, we'll figure that out. Actually, we'll go to documentation. We'll go sstream. We'll use sstream, string stream. We'll call string stream. That probably is it, or iString stream. We'll call it iString stream. String stream. All right, there we go. So let's try that. And then we're going to for int I equals 0. I is less than 3, because we have 3 things that we need, I++. So we're looping through and we're grabbing everything that we want. So then we're going to need to do line, get line s input I, and then we're going to change get line to use a comma. So the reason we need the iString stream is because we need s to be a stream in order to call this, which this line makes it very easy to parse, to separate everything by a comma. So that's why that is important. And then we're just going to call data.pushback, and then we're going to push back input 1. Oh, we need to call person, a new person, input input 1 and input 2. Alright, so then we have person of input 0, input 1, input 2, and that should all be their separated commas. So this one should be the name of that, whatever row that was. So the first one would be Zach, and then this one would be the number that we stored for Zach and the email that we stored for Zach, and I'll push that back, and then we'll go back up and get a new line, and then it will get S, and it will store whatever the input before the first comma is, and store that into input 0. And then the cursor will be right here. It'll be right here, so then it'll get up into the next comma, and then the cursor will be right here, and then it'll get up here. So when we loop through 0, 1, 2, the 0 one's going to be Zach, and then it's going to go and it's going to get right after the comma, it's going to get this, and then it's going to grab that, and then the line's done. So then it's going to go, and then once we get the next while loop, it's going to grab this whole line, and then that's going to be stored in our string stream, and then that's going to be Liz is going to be the first one, her number, and then the email that we have there. So that should then, if we return data, then that should be good. Then we're returning array of person. So now let's try to write to it. So writing to it is very similar. Instead of iStream, we call it fstream. Fstream file. And then we're going to call file name. And actually, we have to close. What is the other parenthesis for? Return data. So then we're going to have to file.close because, because it's not Python, we don't have that with open. We have to close the file whenever we're done using it, or else it just keeps opening up new files, which will eat up our memory. So we definitely want to close it after we're done. So then to write to a file, I think it's this way. We're going to do name, number, and email to reset the header. And then we're going to write file out to the file. Yeah, I think that's right. And we're going to call, so we're going to first do a for loop, and our nifty for loop that has auto, ampersand, I, and then we're going to call it in savebook, the stuff that we want to save. And then we're going to call file i.get name, comma, ooh, I want to probably put those in like that, i.get number, and then i.get email. Yep, that's how you spell that. Email. Yep, sure. And then we're going to want to do inline, because then we want to start a new line. So that is how you would write to it, as long as you put a parenthesis there. So then it will write, it's going to write this, which is the header that we have, and then it's going to write i.get name, and then i.get number, then i.get email. Alright, so that is how you would do that, and then you just have to close it. So we'll do file.close. Yeah, then the only thing that we have to do is go into here and set people. We don't have to check if it exists, because if it doesn't exist, it'll just set this equal to an empty vector. We have to do that for Python because Python wouldn't do that for us, so we have to do, then we'll set it equal to read CSV, and then we need a file name, so we'll do string file name equal address.csv, file name. Alright, and then at the very end when we quit, so while that isn't true, oh, I don't have a return 0. Come on. Alright, so return 0, and also we want to write CSV. You saw it, right? Right. Let's see. Oh, they had it there for me. Let's try it again. There we go. Boom. Down arrow first. Alright, then we're going to go file name, and then we're going to call it, what do we call it? This, I think it's person, right? It's kind of a poor name for it, but I don't want to go with people. I guess that's better. People. Alright. So yeah, so then if we did everything right, we should do the exact same thing, and then we'll just have to see where it saves it. So it might save it in, it's not as intuitive as Python saves it right into the exact location that your Python file is at. It's going to save it because it's a solution. It's a Visual Studio solution. It's going to save it in a, not too out of a place, but just a little more out of the norm. All right, so if we save this, and we'll just look back at this really quick. We close it. That's good. And if you don't close it, it really won't cause an error. It's just going to eat up your memory. It's always good practice to just close it. Yeah, and then we call data pushback. All right, cool. So if we run this, cross your fingers, boys and girls. Dun dun dun. All right, so we get something. We'll add person. We'll add Zach, and then my number 555-555-4321, and then we'll do different email. I forget what I put for the email last time, but I'll do Zach@gmail.com. Always Gmail. All right, so then we'll try to quit it. And let's see. So nothing came out. So we'll go over to nope, back in my D drive. CPP. And I always forget. There we go. Part 1, I think. Yep. Address book. And then it's actually going to be in book. And then there's address, CSV. If we open it up, name number. Ooh, you know why that happened. So I'm going to delete this because we don't want that. That's terrible. Yeah, so you know how I have end line here. You have to be very explicit. Unlike Python, where it kind of always ends the line for you. You kind of get spoiled by it, but there we go. Put the end line there. As long as you delete the file, then you go back here. Oh, nope. You delete the file and you run this again. Yep. All right, so then you add person, Zach, 555-432-4321. Oh, that's unfortunate. All right, get out of there. And I hope it, no, I wouldn't have created it. Let me make sure. Oh well, it's gonna rewrite over it. So choice 1, and then Zach. Number 555-432-4321. Enter email at gmail.com. And let's call 5. So let's see what happened because I kind of messed it up there. Inputting the data. Let's see. CBP, local line, part 1, address book. Yeah, there we go. So, yeah, it kind of gives you a scientific notation for your number, but it's there. It's what you have it as. And then if we want to read it, but don't save. So it always wants to save it as an Excel file rather than a CSV file. Don't listen to that. That nonsense. So then if you play this again, then you do show all, Zach. So there we go. We have something that can work on both Python and on C++, and yeah, you can save and read and write from a CSV. So what we're actually going to do now is go here, so address, and let's make sure, I don't know. All right, so we're going to go to live problem solving. We're actually going to go to part 1, and I'm going to copy this, and then we're going to go to live problem solving. And then we're going to go into address book, and then right into here. And then we're going to paste. And we're going to see that if you use the Python, it'll still save to this file. And then if you use the C++, it'll still save from this file. And they'll both read from it as well. So it doesn't matter if you were going to use Python or C++, use one or the other, and you could interchange them, keep going back and forth. They'll keep reading and writing from the file, the same exact file. So. All right, so we will get out of here. CD CD part 1, and then we'll do CD book ls CD book most likely, and then ls CD book. All right, ls, and then there we go. So then if you type that into it, I'm gonna close this. You can't have anything, you can't have the file open when you try to run these things, because then it'll say permission denied or something. Hope none of you came into this error before I said this, but yeah, because you can only have one file open by a certain system at one point in time. So when you're reading from it, it's like you're opening it. So if it's open, it won't do that. Yeah, so we'll try this. So, boom, and then we'll do show all. Ooh. All right, let's go back. Make sure I spelled everything right. No. We'll go 5. Alright, so addressbook.py, and let's go into addressbook.py. I mean, this is a different location, but I just wanted to make sure that we called it all the same. So addressbook.csv, and I think I just called the other one address, am I right? Yep, so then if we make this book, and then they'll work together. Alright, so yeah, save that. So right now there's going to be nothing in it, so we'll rerun it. And then we'll add, and then we'll do Zach, lowercase, 432, 543, 4321, email at gmail.com, show all, there you go, and then we'll add one more from this side, Eliz, and then we'll do 555, 432, 4321, did I already do email? Yeah, I did. Liz at gmail.com. Alright, and then if we do show all, there it is, 5, bang. Alright, so then if we go here, because now they're both named the same thing, I'm pretty sure. Well, I guess we'll find out. And then we'll do show all. There you go. So it's, as you can tell, they're all lowercase, and the number I usually use 555s, but for that last split second I use this to kind of demonstrate that. Yeah, so then we can also add to it, and then we'll add Matt 555 543 1234 and Matt at gmail.com. Alright, so then if we we'll show all, bang, 5, and then we go back to here and we do Python and then we do show all Matt. So yeah, they're working in sync with each other, so it didn't matter whether you have a shortcut for this or a shortcut for that or both. You can use one or the other, and you don't have to worry about the other one not knowing about you updating that. So it's kind of nice, and it really just shows that you can do the same exact thing with Python and C++. So the next thing that we're going to go to, actually doing well for time for once, is we're going to go to OpenCV. So like I said, these two paths are within the live video description below. If you guys travel to my video, or if you're watching on the video, travel to there and look at the description, and then you'll be able to get those two paths, and we're going to need both of those paths to kind of work with it. So I'm going to open a new thing. So what OpenCV is the way that you can work with videos and images, mainly images, but then when multiple images are a video, and you could break videos down into multiple images. You can get a lot of different information from them. You can get an array of what the pixels are within that image. I'll call it numpy array, which we're going to install. And then you can capture images. You can show them to the screen. You can overlay them with rectangles or different types of shapes. There's a lot of things you can do with them, and we'll get to that at some point in time. But for right now, we're just going to really just capture a video. Not a video. We're going to capture an image from the webcam and save that for the person's contact information. So yeah, that'll be the very simple explanation, showing of OpenCV. But there's so many things you can do with it. Definitely highly recommend it. So in the beginning, you'll just want to download. For OpenCV, for both of them, it's going to be the CP36M Win32.wheel. Don't do the AMD 64s, and make sure it's the 3.6 ones. And this one, it's the 3.4.1. I don't think I have that. I think mine's probably 3.3.1. And then for the same exact thing for NumPy, and I think mine's 1.13.1. If you already have these installed, don't worry, they really don't change too much in between updates, so you can keep them the same. But yeah, so if you click on them, so like I'll make sure I click on the right one. Yeah, click on this, it should download a wheel. Yep, downloads that. And it'll do the same for the other one. Don't open it like you would if any other thing, but when you download this for C++, which we'll get to, you are going to want to download it. You are going to want to click it when you download it. I already have it downloaded. Already downloaded it before previously today. I already have it downloaded onto my computer from a while ago. But yeah, so then when you do download them, you're going to want to go to your CD downloads. And then you're going to want to run pip install, and then it's a long name. I guess I'll go to my download folder. Downloads, and then I'll do numpy. Where is numpy? A, B, C, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, P. Oh, there's another thing for numpy. There you go, the wheel. Rename. And then you're going to want to copy all of it. So even the .whl. I mean, you could always put that in after, but so then you're going to do that, and then you're going to do pip install, and then that, and then you're going to hit enter, and then it'll find that. You have to make sure you're within your downloads directory, but it will install it for your Python. So even when you're not within your downloads directory, Python knows that you have numpy. You're going to do the same exact thing, copy the name after your numpy installs, and you're going to do pip install, and then the OpenCV, blah, 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 .whl. And then, yeah, that should work. I already have that, but I'm going to make sure pip install documentation, just to triple check, because I'm actually going to run that on my computer. So I already have it, but it's... Are you kidding me? All right. Pip install documentation, CV wheel. I just want to make sure that that's the right thing I set you guys off with. Haven't been to this before. Pip install, yeah, and then but these have different things, but yours is going to want to be the wheel. So, yeah, so there you go. So yeah, if you run that, that should have worked for you. Yeah, so then you did that for these two, and then those are installed. So then what you're going to want to do is we're going to go back to Atom. And we are going to actually, because we're not in this anymore, we're going to open up a different project folder, add project folder, because we are using the other address book. So interesting. Oh yeah. So this one, select folder. Yeah, so then you see we have our projects, but we are now on this address.py, so I'm going to close both of them. I'm going to close all of them. All right, so then when you have it, you're going to want to import numpy as MP and import CV2. All right, so then what you're going to want to do is go down here. And then you're going to want to call cap equals video capture 0, and then image equals, and we're going to do, well, I think it's frame equals read. Oh, I think we have to do CV dot video capture CV2 dot read. It's not showing up. Interesting. Read cap. And I think that works. And then we're going to close cap dot and we're going to want to call it imshow. So CV2 imshow frame. And then need a title, so we're going to call it image. And this is just to make sure that we have everything right. I'll try to, where's CV? I think it's CV2. Alright, so let's see if it works. So we're going to go, okay, we are here. So then we're going to run Python All right, bad argument. cv2.im read bad built-in operation. And I have this saved before, just in case something happened. Oh no, not here. All right, cv2, and then it's going to be cv2, oh, cap.read, that's what it is. Address book, so we're going to do image equals cap.read. Alright, and then image show frame. Alright, cool. So if we do this, then we do this. Frame is not defined. Yep, but this has to be image because I changed that name. Alright, cool. And then numerical tuple. Oh, I think it's ret in the image. There we go. Let me run it. And black. So black is an interesting thing. It's only because of webcam. If it was a real picture. So I think if we just add the wait key, cv2.wait key. And then we'll just put 1 in there, and then if we do CV, if we do cv2.destroy all windows, and then if we call it again, this should work. Let's find out though. Yep, it didn't save it for long enough though. So if we do 1000 and 5. Alright, there it is. There's my beautiful face. Alright, so yeah, so that is how you would just get one thing. If you wanted to repeatedly do this, you would just call cap, and then you'd put a while kind of true here, and then you'd kind of loop through this essentially. But we're not going to do that. What we're going to do is we are going to take this, and we are going to put it into, when we declare a person, we're going to do im name, and then that's where we're going to save it. So read, yep, okay. Then we're also going to need the wait key and release, cv2.release. So then we're going to, after we save it, we are going to close it, and then we're going to do cp2.cap.release. Alright, and image name is going to be where we're going to save it, so /images/ and then we're going to call name for who it is, and then we're going to add .png. Alright, so then for me, for an example would be .images/ Zach.png. So, and then we're also going to need to put in an image here, image name, im name, because that's how we're going to be able to reference it. We're going to add that to our CSV file in a second. We might as well do it now. So here we're going to put image. And then here we're going to have to go up here, and we're going to have to put row, and then we're going to have to put image there. Where else? Yep, that's good down there. Right here. Image. Alright, cool. So then there's only 2 other places. self, then we're going to call it image equals none as well. Self dot image equals none if they didn't give us anything, same as it was. In our constructor, we're going to have to make sure that we pass an image, and then we're going to call self dot image equals m. And then the last one is going to be def get image self return self dot image. All right, and then that should be everything. There might be some places currently that don't have it, but like right here, make sure that I have it there. Yep, image. All right, cool. All right, so we're doing pretty good there. So right now what this is going to do is it's going to look at your webcam, which is basically the device video captured, and then this is like a device 1 or 0, and then that's your webcam, and then it'll read it, and then the first one's kind of information about it, and then the other one's like the actual image numpy array. And then you're gonna wait, and then you're gonna release your webcam, and then yeah, so then the only other thing that we have to do, I'm actually going to put this im name up here because name's already defined by that point, is write that image. So right before this, we're going to do cv.cv2.write imwrite. Yep, imwrite, and then we're going to take image, we're going to write that. I wish. So I think image is first, and then the im name. But I guess we'll find out. Okay, so yeah. Well, I mean I have it. So it's the opposite way, of course. Back here. No, back here. Yep. So it is going to be image in the second one, and then the file name, im name. Is that what they call it? Well, lowercase. All right, so then we're writing this to this path. So basically what we're doing is we're storing this path in our CSV, because you can't really store an image in your CSV, but then you're storing the image with it where that path is with that same exact name. So when we're going to show it, which we're going to do here right in a second, is we're going to look for this path, and then we're going to read whatever is at that path with that file name, and then it's going to show up on the screen. So instead of, like, I think when I first thought about saving images, I thought that they had to be images when they were saved to whatever content that they're saved with, but you really just need the path name for the image. Yeah, so then what we're going to do is it'll make more sense when we start to work with GUIs, graphical interface, and then we're going to actually display it onto a screen. But what we're going to do is we're going to kind of show the image for 5 seconds when they search for that specific person, and then we're going to close it after that. We're also going to print this stuff too. So we're going to print that stuff, and then we're going to do enter. Why not? Let's go back here and enter. All right, cool. So then what we're going to do is we're going to look for that name. So we're going to do in cv2.imread, and then we're going to call, I think it's ret, and then we're going to call this one frame equals cv2.imread, and then we're going to read whatever then. So we're going to do contact dot get image. It should be image. It should be image path, but why not? Let's get image. All right. So then we get that. So then it's reading from that path, and then we have that stored in frame. So then we're going to do cv2.show, and we're going to call frame, and then cv2.wait key. And we're going to call, it's once in 5 seconds, let's do that. So we'll do that. And then we're going to call cv2.destroy all windows, and then that should be good. Show frame. Oh, we need image. All right, so then that should be good. Let's see how it works. So if we go back to here and we do that, actually what I'm gonna do before I do that is I'm gonna call this address book 1, because I think we're probably gonna fail somewhere. All right, so address book, yeah. So show image. Oh, dear gosh, me and that. All right, so I'm also gonna delete all this because this is nonsense at this point. We already know it works. Boom, and hopefully somebody. Yeah. Okay. Now let's call it. All right, so let's add someone. It's a whole new file, so we're gonna add Zach again, and then my number 555-543-4321. Email at gmail.com. Then bang, takes a picture. And then we're gonna do 3 get by name, and I do the capital Z. And we have a quick error, mread.cat_nuntype is not iterable. Okay, so it might just be frame. Alright, so I don't think at that point then it saved it. So we're gonna go Python address book, and we'll just do show all just to see. Yeah, it didn't save it. So we'll do Zach 555-443-4321. Email at gmail.com, and then should have taken a picture. I know when it takes it because my webcam light lights up. Take that NSA. Show image module CV2 show. Probably said that but didn't type it. All right, here we go. All right, we're gonna add me again, Zach 555-443-4321. Zach, yeah, why not? Not Gmail, but you know, whatever. And then we're gonna do 3, and then we're gonna type Zach. Oh my gosh. Let's see. So address book, show, see image frame, function error. So let's see what we had here, because I know that works. Show, contact.getImage. Well, let's make sure it's saved. Alright, so if we go here, just travel to the destination where you guys have everything stored. Actually, you don't have to, because I will. Yeah, so maybe make a path called images first. New folder images. Alright, and then we'll see how that works. Alright, so then I call it images, right? When I save it, boom, 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 I have to save. Yep, /images. Okay. Thought it created it automatically, so we'll see. Python address book, but it doesn't give us an error, so that means it probably means it was my fault. Good. Yep, there it goes. It added to it. Okay, cool. 3, and then we'll see if it definitely did. Yep, there I am. My little tongue out. There we go. All right, cool. So then now we're displaying an image. We're saving them. If I quit, and I go to Python, and then I go to and I show all, it should be Zach, and then I do get name, and I do Zach, and there it is again. So we're able to store it and view an image, which is nice when we work with graphical interfaces. It will be a lot cooler. So, which is it's still good to know. And OpenCV is still good to have on your computer. So if that is working, OpenCV is definitely working on your computer, which is great. We're now going to switch over to Visual Studios, and we're going to implement this with that. So it takes a little bit longer to set this up. So if you travel to OpenCV and then you go to WinPack and you hit that, and then you're gonna get taken to source the download page, and it's gonna SourceForge, and it's gonna download it, and then you're gonna click this. So I'll click it, even though I have it downloaded on my computer. And yep, and then instead, what I like to do is I like to just extract it to C, and then it'll create a path called, as you'll see in my C drive, OpenCV. When you extract it, it will already do. So you don't have to create the folder OpenCV. If you just save it to your C drive, it'll create OpenCV. And then what you need to do if you're on Windows is you need to go to System, Environment Variables, System Environment Variables, bang. There it is. And then you do Environment Variables, and you go to Path here, and then you go to Edit, and then you'll have to click New, but mine is already there, but you're going to want to put this exact path into your environment variables. Then click OK, and then click OK, and then Apply when you do that. And then after that, you're going to have to restart your computer. So when system variables get installed, most of the time you have to restart your computer. You can get away with a couple of them, I think, without having to restart. Or at least close Visual Studios and open it back up. Maybe that'll just work. But yeah, so, but restarting definitely works. So I would stick with that. And then you're going to want to go to here, your book, and we're going to go to Properties, and we're going to go to this, and then we're going to edit this, make sure it's in debug, and we're going to put the include file in there. So we're going to go to this, and then OpenCV, build, include, there it is, okay. And we're going to include that, and then hit OK. You have to hit apply it because we have 2 more things to do. Linker, and then we're going to go here, additional library directories, because we need to add the libraries for OpenCV for it to know that it's there. And then you go here, and then you go, and then you're going to want to go to, why is it always there? And OpenCV, build, x64, vc14, and then this is going to be the directory, so if you have that clicked, and then bang, that's where those are going to be. And then you're going to want to click this arrow, because right now we're on general. Then we're going to go to input, and we're going to input 1 library. So we're going to go to this, to the directory that you saved everything to. So hopefully it's OpenCV, and then we're build x64 vc14 lib, and then you're going to want to copy this name, not the copy rename. So if you go to rename and you copy the whole thing, or you can just do .lib after, and then you exit that, and then you plop it right in here. Okay, you're going to be able to OK, and then you can hit apply, and that should be everything that you need to do. And then you hit OK. All right. So then if we go to hashtag include OpenCV2, OpenCV.hpp. And my bet is that, well, it should at least. If you go here, maybe it won't give you an error, but you have to have it in 64. Really? Well, I thought you had to have it in 64. Let's see. Well, let's see. You might have to read out everything. All right, I feel bad now. So what I would do is I'm going to redo everything, so you could probably skip the next 5 minutes and just do everything yourself, but keep it in x6 form, because that's the form that's in. If you do it within x86, it probably won't compile. It will give you an error. Build include. Okay, and then you go to linker, additional stuff, and then you go here. And then we're going to go here, OpenCV, build, x64, lib, select folder, okay, and then input, and then this is where it's going to come handy, edit, I think I still have it, yep, okay, and then hit apply, okay, and it should go away. Yep, okay, cool. So yeah, if you try it, you could try it in x86, but I've never had any luck. So if you do, let me know. All right, so then we're gonna have to change a couple of things in order to get ready for the, so we're gonna do again, string image. string get image, and then we're going to do string im. And another thing that we have to do before we do any of this is, you know how we say have using namespace std, we're going to have to use namespace CV. Alright, so that'll prevent us from having to do CV : I'll show you that though when we get there. Alright, so then we're also going to have, because now we have 4 things, we're going to want to change this to a 4, and this to a 4 as well, and then we're going to want to do input 3, there we go. And then here we're going to want to have image to keep everything the same, and another comma, .get image, no, not comma, .get image, and then add line. Alright. Yeah, we're just changing the CSV to accept that string path, and then I think we have address book 1. And then we're going to have to go down here really quick, and we're going to do string im, image equals im, and then string person get image return image. Alright, cool. What did I do? Did I not define it as a string up here? String get image. String image. String person return image. Oh, alright, apparently never mind. It's okay with it. It should be. Alright, and then this one we're gonna have to put im name, and then how we get the image is we're gonna do, so the type for an image is mat image equals, and first we're gonna have to do video capture is the type name, capture cap 0, cap.read. Interesting. We'll come back to that. And then we're gonna have to do image dot say, well actually, yeah, image dot im right im name image, and then we're gonna do string im name equals / images plus name plus 1/ here / images / name .png. Alright, so then that will work, and then cap.read isn't working for some reason, but we'll get to that. And then we're gonna do cap.release here. Alright, so we have cap.release, so we're doing a video capture, we're capturing from the webcam, and then we're reading in, and we're sending the image equal to cap.read. So here, what if I do this? Image equals cap.read. We'll see what happens there. Im read, im name, image. That's all good. So we're taking the im name, which is the path that we set up here, and we're saving the image that we're getting from the webcam, similar to Python, and then we're just storing it similar to Python. And then we're releasing the video capture. And yeah, so then for showing it, it's very similar. So we're going to do, we're going to set up another image, mat image, what do we call it, frame, another one, mat frame. And then we're going to do frame, imread, frame, I think, no, I dot get image, and then it's going to be stored into frame. And then we're going to do, frame equals that. And then we're going to do frame show frame and image of some sort. Yeah, and then we're going to do wait key 1000, and then destroy all windows. Yeah, so that should be good. And that's very similar to what we had before. And then the only other thing that we have to do, we are writing it. So, okay, imread. So, let's just go here and we'll do video capture read. And here we go. So, documentation for that would say video capture 0 dot is open. That's what it is. Okay. Cool. So it's going to be cap in image. Alright, so let's see how this goes. So we'll build it. Hopefully no errors, but you never know. Alright, we'll do show all. So Zach, and then we'll do get by name. Zach. And we get this error. So, show frame. We'll do let's go, we'll put this up here. I had a problem with this another time too. So what I can do is I can go here, and I'll go here, and I'll just look at it, because I did have this error earlier, but I thought it fixed itself. Yep, there's that, imwrite, release, and we push back. Alright, so then where's the show? Alright, so show, image. Maybe I need that window. I'll do all of those things. I'll put CV, imread color. Read color, and then we'll do a named window. Named window. Name. Named window, and I think it's just gonna be images. And then CV window auto size. Window auto size, and we'll see if that works. So if we do this, possibly not. 2, Zach, 3. Okay, well, let's go back to here. So I did have this problem. Inline twice, 5,000, destroy all windows. Mat image. I'll just copy this because why not? If frame is empty. Yeah, that error before. Let's do that one more time. I'll put this. crash, it'll just tell you that it didn't. Oh, well, I don't have the L, so it will actually crash. So 3, Zach, yeah. Interesting. Else. Alright, do it one more time. Two, 3, Zach. Alright, well, at least it's giving us this weird error. So we'll go back up here. Last time I thought it was in here. Input 3. Let's go to that on this one. Just started working all of a sudden last time. So no inline. Push back. 0, 1, 2, 3. 0, 1, 2, 3. Alright, so we'll go through what I did to diagnose that last time. So, I printed out image, cout, I.get image and decline. And now. Alright. Alright, 2, Zach, whoa. That's really weird. Let's see again. Zach. Okay. So what was happening last time? So then if I do that substring length 0 to get I.get image dot size -1, because there's an end line there that's causing the issue. There we go. So if I put that into here, you would assume that would work, but we shall see. Cool. So now it works. For me, and this happened before as well, you needed to take the end line out of the string, but then it stopped working for me. So either this is right or I.get image is the right one. So this long line or I.get image, we'll keep adding them between the two. So see if it ever changes to not being able to read it anymore. If it doesn't read it, it's because it's looking for a .pn instead of .png. Let's keep adding to it. So we'll save this.
Do you want me to go over LateX today?
Yes, if you can. We have
It's like 20 minutes.
20, yeah.
Do you want me to do that?
Yeah, don't worry. So then we'll add another person. Do Morgan, and then we'll do 555 543 4321, and then we'll do email@gmail.com, and then another picture, and it should save. So then and then we'll do Morgan could not read image from disk, and let's see if it actually saved it, because that would be interesting. Alright, so let's see if it actually saved it, because we haven't gone over that part yet. Documents, live, part 1, address book, images. Yep, so it did save it, and I bet that's this stupid thing. Alright, so we'll go here, and let's get hi.get. There we go. Alright, so then let's try it. And actually, I think I know what it is. Why one of them is working, why one of them is not. So we'll do to show. Oh, it exited with an error last time. Okay, so we'll just add a person, do Morgan again. That's strange. Okay. Oh yeah, it's saved. Okay, we're gonna quit this. Okay. We're gonna add another person, Liz. 555 54321 321. I don't know. And then we're going to do email@gmail, doesn't matter. Alright, so then it'll take a picture, and then it should do it, and if it does it, I know what's going on. Yep, so we took it out. Alright, so what's going on is actually when Python saves it, because we did the last one through Python, it's using there's an end line probably at the end of that as we save it. So I will go into that next time to see how to fix that. But if you were to start this back up, and then you would go to 3 and then do Liz, it'll work again. So it's not that it was just the current session. It was that because of how the two different files are saving that file name. So for some reason Python's ending an add line at the end, and we'll just take that out. Next video at the very beginning of it, it'll take about 2 seconds, but if you can get all the way up to here, that was great. We're working with CSVs, saving data, and then we're bringing it back, and we're also working with images, which is really cool. OpenCV has a lot more things that you can do with it other than save and show pictures, so I encourage everyone to look into that. And yeah, so see you guys in the next one. And Elizabeth is going to talk about LateX here now. So I'll just minimize all these. Open new tab.
Over. I know what my password is now.
Dope.
All right, guys. So we're gonna look at working with LateX, which is basically it's like Microsoft Word but with coding, and it's used to write a lot of scientific papers, journals, and books. Yeah, when I took optics, the book that they had us use was written in LateX. So we're gonna look at. So I've used this. I used it this past summer when I was doing research at an REU at a different university. So we wrote our tech reports on here. We made our poster in it, and then we also made our slides in it. So you can do a lot of stuff with it. I'm just gonna go over like the general how to make a normal paper. I'm also writing my honors project in it right now. So we're just gonna look at oh nope, that's the wrong one. So I like using Overleaf because because you don't have to learn everything about how to do all of it at the beginning. you can choose the like paper that's like, it's a guideline of how to do things, and then you don't have to go through and actually like start the document or tell it what packages to use or what fonts you want or anything. You can just open it and start typing. Now, the thing about LaTeX is that you have multiple files, so you import pictures. So this is a picture. The one that you write in is the main tech file, and then you have a bibtech file, which is, it's a file.bib. That's for your references. And it compiles everything together and it turns it into a PDF. The other good part about the Overleaf compiler is that it can compile it while you're working on it if you change it to auto, but I like to be able to compile it whenever I want, like not constantly, because I get a lot of errors then. But yeah, so you can see it changing as you're writing it. So basically it's a normal document other than that. And then you can put pictures in like this. That's the other reason why I really like using the outline for it, is because if you haven't used it before, or if you haven't used it in a while, you get to see how they did it, and then you can just start changing it from there. So the pictures look a little bit better. The other main benefit is that, so you give every figure and table a reference label, and then you can use that here. And so you don't have to remember what number it is and then go back through and change the number of everything. If you put another figure in front of it, it'll just compile to be referencing the right thing in your paper. It also does the same thing for tables. So this is an example of what your table looks like. I'll pull up my honors project in like a couple of minutes, and you'll see like how different it can be. This is also how much I make everything look better on this side. And then you can also do equations. So that looks weird. Yeah, so in the type setting for equations on here, it looks, on this side, it looks a lot better than it would if you were trying to get it in a Microsoft product. So, all right, so we're gonna look at my honors project, which is what I'm working on right now. So yeah, basically it gives you the look of a scientific paper without having to like actually go through and format everything, which you would have to do while you were working in Word. So like the abstract has slightly different margins. And then, yeah, so that's, yeah. Now for pictures, you can do side by side by making it into a table for the pictures. So that's what I did here. I think this one's just one picture. Yeah. And then, so that's the same thing for those. Now, my tables are a lot more complicated than the example one that they had. But this shows that you can do, you can have one thing in a multiple, you can have one thing over multiple columns. You can have, yeah, you can have a table that basically has two tables put together. There's a lot of things that you can do with it. You can, yeah. You can basically specialize it to look like whatever you want it to look like, because it's, you know, because it's in coding instead of in Microsoft. Yeah. The other, you've seen me do this before too, where you just, the best part of the thing that I think is you can, sometimes it's hard to find stuff in your code if you're just looking at the code, but if you're working in Overleaf, you can scroll and to find the section you're looking for, and like because it has actual section headers, you can tell a lot quicker. and it'll bring you straight to it. So that's my favorite part about working in here instead of, I've done, over the summer, we ended up writing in LateX in the command terminal, and that was a lot harder to do. And a lot less, yeah, it was a lot harder. And it was, getting errors in that is a lot more intimidating than getting errors in here and having things crash. So basically, yeah, so you come in here, this is the preview of what it's gonna look like. When you write in LateX, you will get a PDF of it in the end. So here you just click the PDF button, it downloads to the computer, and then you have your paper. Yeah, so that's about it. I can't think of, yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. There.
Yeah, I think all scientific papers, you kind of have to have LaTeX.
Yeah, journals, like when you submit stuff in a LaTeX file, because it's easier for them to change stuff to fit into like what, like it's easier for them to change it so that it looks like what it looks like in the journal, because the journals are also written in LaTeX. So.
Yes, sir. So good to know. Thank you. Yeah, so the next time we'll go over a couple of graphical ways to include graphical interfaces in both Python and C++ to make everything look nicer rather than just command lines. And then hopefully we'll be able to get to a possible R lecture or threading along with parallel programming, but that will might get pushed back another week as well. But that is the next two big topics that we'll be covering in here, and then we'll do a quick thing on probably plotting in both, and talking to serial or socket ports within both, and then we'll go on to start using Node.js and creating our own server. Yeah, so that's it for this week. And this one included more library type situations. So if you have questions on where to get more documentation on them, yeah, just feel free to comment on the video, or if you guys have my email, just to email me. All right.